$94,000. That's roughly what I brought home last year busting my back for a construction firm that doesn't know my daughter's middle name. And on the Tuesday, my appendix decided to detonate. My wife's biggest concern wasn't whether I'd live. It was whether Cabo had a decent cancellation policy. Let me back up. My name is Seth Powell. I'm 45 years old, and I live in a stucco house in North Scottsdale off Pinnacle Peak Road. I'm a senior project manager for a commercial construction outfit. I build hospitals, parking structures, the occasional strip mall. I make good money. Not rich money. Good money. The kind of money that lets you take your family to Cabo San Lucas for a week and still sleep at night. Or so I thought. You spend 20 years thinking you're building a family. Turns out you're just building a very expensive stage set. I didn't know that yet, though. 2 weeks before this story really gets going, all I knew was that my back hurt. My knees clicked like a broken blender, and I hadn't had a real Saturday off in 3 months. See, here's the thing about being a husband and a father in my house. Love isn't something you say. It's something you do, quietly while everyone else is asleep or scrolling on their phones. I restained our deck in June because Jessica mentioned once in passing that it looked tired. I spent 4 Saturdays under Olivia's Jeep Wrangler changing her brake pads because she said the dealership quoted her $600, and that's basically robbery, Dad. Nobody asked me to do any of it. I just did. And in March, staring at our shared calendar at 11 at night, after everyone else had gone to bed, I decided I was going to do something big. Something they'd remember. Cabo, I said, sliding my phone across the kitchen island to Jessica on a random Wednesday. Beachfront villa, private pool. 1 week. I already booked it. Jessica's eyes went wide. Genuinely wide, for once. Not the polite performance wide she does for her design clients. Seth, this is... How much did this cost? $6,000, I said. Don't worry about it. 4 words I would replay in my head for the rest of my life like a bad song stuck on repeat. Olivia came thundering down the stairs in her workout clothes, AirPods still in, and when Jessica told her, she actually screamed, actually hugged me. For about 4 seconds, I was the best father in Maricopa County. Dad, you're the best. Oh my God, I'm telling everyone, Olivia said, already typing. Just maybe wait till we're actually there, I laughed. Don't jinx it. She didn't hear me. She was already posting. I want you to remember that moment. The screaming. The hug. Because it's the last time in this story either of them looked at me like I mattered more than what I could give them. Welcome to Dad's Raw Revenge. Get comfortable. This story is going to take you somewhere. Hit that like button and drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to love it here. 3 months of 60-hour weeks paid for that trip. I picked up every overtime shift the firm offered. I ate gas station burritos in my truck during lunch, instead of going home, just to save the drive time and squeeze in 1 more hour on site. By the time the trip rolled around, I was running on fumes and energy drinks, but I didn't care. I kept a countdown on my phone. 9 days to Cabo. 6 days to Cabo. 2 days before we were supposed to fly out of Sky Harbor, I was in the garage organizing suitcases when it hit me. A pain low in my right side, sharp, like someone had reached in and twisted something that wasn't supposed to twist. I dropped to 1 knee, then both knees. Then I was on the concrete floor of my own garage, sweating through my t-shirt, unable to catch a full breath. Jess, I managed to call out, but my voice came out thin, useless. She found me maybe 10 minutes later. I'd lost track of time by then, standing over me with a laundry basket on her hip, like she couldn't quite process what she was looking at. Seth? Seth, what are you okay? Why are you on the floor? Hospital, I gasped. Now. Ruptured appendix. Emergency surgery. I was in Scottsdale Osborne for 1 night and discharged the next afternoon. Because that's how insurance works now. They patch the hole in you and shove you out the door before you can even stand up straight. I had a 6-inch incision held together with surgical glue, a bag of prescription painkillers, and doctor's orders. No lifting, minimal movement. Someone should be checking on you regularly for at least a week. Jessica drove me home from the hospital in near silence. I remember thinking, she's just scared. She's processing. Give her a minute. I gave her a minute. Then I gave her a day. By the 2nd day, I realized the silence wasn't fear. It was math. I was propped up in bed, still groggy, when I heard her on the phone in the hallway. Her voice had that clipped, irritated tone she uses with contractors who show up late. No, I know, Brenda, I know. But it's non-refundable. That's the whole problem. $6,000. Just gone if we don't go. No, he's fine. He's resting. The doctor said he just needs quiet. Fine. He's fine. I was lying in a bed with a hole in my abdomen held together by glue, and I was fine. I told myself I misheard the tone. I told myself a lot of things over the next 48 hours. On the third night after my surgery, Jessica sat on the edge of the bed. She was dressed, actually dressed, hair done, and there was a suitcase by the bedroom door that I hadn't given permission to be packed. Something in my chest already knew what was coming before she opened her mouth. "Honey," she started, and I want you to understand she used the exact same tone she uses when she's telling a client their kitchen backsplash choice is a bold decision. "The $6,000 is 100% non-refundable. If we stay home, we're just flushing cash down the toilet. And the doctor did say you need total quiet to heal. We'd just be in your way, honestly." I stared at her. "You're leaving." "Well, I can't stand up on my own. Olivia already has her bags packed, Seth. She's been so excited. You wouldn't want to take that away from her, would you?" There it was, the move. Make it about someone else's happiness, so my objection makes me the villain. "Jess, I need help. I can't drive. I can barely make it to the bathroom without—" "You'll be fine," she said, standing up, smoothing her blouse. "It's a week. We'll FaceTime every day." Then, and I still don't fully believe this part happened, even though I watched it with my own 2 eyes, she pulled out her phone, right there at the foot of the bed, and called Brenda. "Hey, so, Seth obviously can't make it. It's just such bad timing," she said, laughing a little like it was a scheduling conflict and not a medical emergency. "You guys should take the master suite instead. Seriously, don't let it go to waste." She hung up, looked at me almost cheerfully, and set a bottle of water and a sleeve of saltine crackers on my nightstand. "Just DoorDash something if you get hungry," she said. "Love you. Feel better." The garage door went up, then down. Then the house was silent in a way I'd never heard it before. Not peaceful silent. Abandoned silent. "You're ruining the summer." She never said those exact words that night. She didn't have to. It was written all over the packed suitcase, the master suite offer, the saltine crackers left on my nightstand like I was a hamster somebody forgot to rehome before vacation. I lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles above me, and I remember thinking one very clear thought: 20 years of Saturdays. And this is what it bought me. I don't know exactly how long I was alone. Time gets strange when you're flat on your back, drifting in and out from the painkillers, listening to your own house creak and settle around you like it's laughing. Hours, maybe. Long enough that the crackers were gone and the water bottle was empty, and I was seriously considering trying to crawl to the kitchen. Then I heard the front door. My first thought was pure panic. Someone's in the house. And then I heard a voice I recognized, calling out from the entryway. "Uncle Seth? Hey, it's just me, don't shoot me," or whatever. Chris, my sister's kid. 23, works nights as a line cook at a Sonoran grill off Hayden. Been trying to save up for his own food truck for the better part of 2 years. Jessica's called him a dropout couch surfer more than once at family dinners. Usually right to his face, usually followed by that laugh she does that isn't really a laugh. He appeared in my bedroom doorway in his work hoodie, car keys still in his hand, and just stopped. Looked at me, looked at the empty water bottle, looked at the suitcase-shaped dent still in the carpet by the door. "Mom told me what happened," he said quietly. "Said you had surgery. I figured somebody'd be here with you." "They left for Cabo," I said, and even I could hear how flat my voice sounded. Couldn't get the refund. Chris didn't say anything right away. He just set his keys down on my dress-me in 4 days. "I don't know," I admitted. Like he was moving in, and said, "Okay, when'd you last eat something that wasn't a cracker?" I didn't know it yet, lying there half delirious on painkillers. But that question, that stupid simple question, was the first real kindness anybody had shown. "All right," Chris said, already rolling his sleeves up. "Give me 20 minutes. I'm making you broth." And Uncle Seth, he paused at the door, and for a second he looked older than 23. "Nobody should have left you like this. That's messed up." He disappeared down the hallway toward the kitchen, and a few minutes later I heard cabinets opening, a pot hitting the stove, the low hum of him talking to himself the way cooks do when they're working. I lay there in the dark, appendix scar throbbing, house finally smelling like something other than antiseptic and abandonment, and my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I picked it up. New photo. Jessica, Olivia, and two women I recognized as Brenda and Susan. All four of them grinning on a white sand beach, drinks in hand, golden hour lighting behind them. The caption read, "Finally exhaling." I set the phone face down on the nightstand and closed my eyes. Somewhere down the hall I could hear Chris humming while he cooked, and for the first time in 4 days I let myself breathe. Exhale, Jessica. Enjoy it while it lasts. Grief has a smell, I learned that week. It smells like chicken broth and rubbing alcohol and a house that's too quiet at 2 in the afternoon. But betrayal has a sound. It sounds like a notification chime on a phone you're too scared to pick up. By day 2 of the trip, I was walking short distances on my own, hunched over like a man twice my age, one hand pressed against my incision like I could hold myself together if I just pushed hard enough. Chris had gone home to shower and grab clothes, but promised he'd be back that evening. For a few hours, it was just me, the ceiling fan, and my phone sitting on the nightstand like a loaded gun. Around noon, it went off. "Olivia, how are you feeling?" 4 words. That's all it took to crack something open in my chest that I didn't know was still capable of cracking. I sat up too fast, wincing, and typed back a response before I could stop myself. Not 4 words, not a casual reply. A real one. "Better today. Sore, but Chris has been amazing. Made me broth and helped me get around. Miss you, kiddo. Wish you were here to see the deck I redid. Thought about you the whole time I was staining it. Hope you guys are having fun. Love you." I sat there staring at those 2 gray check marks like a teenager waiting on a text back from his first crush. Pathetic. Probably. I didn't care. I set the phone down, picked it up again 10 minutes later. Nothing. An hour later. Nothing. By evening. Nothing. She's probably just busy, I told myself. Pool time, dinner, whatever. She'll circle back. She circled back the next morning. Just not the way I'd hoped. I was scrolling, bored, restless, trying to distract myself from the throb in my side. And Olivia's TikTok popped up in my feed because Chris had insisted I follow her so you can see what she's up to instead of asking her 100 questions. There she was, in a bikini, doing some kind of lip-sync bit with Brenda's daughter, and the caption read, "When your dad texts you a novel about staining a deck while you're trying to enjoy Cabo lol number dramatic number dads be like." 41,000 views. I read that caption maybe 6 times, waiting for it to say something different. It never did. I deleted the draft folder message I'd never sent, the second, longer one, the one where I'd started to write about how scared I'd been on that garage floor, how I thought maybe I was dying and the last thing I'd think about was her laugh. Gone. Deleted. I set the phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling fan going in slow, useless circles. You spend 19 years teaching a kid to ride a bike, to drive a car, to believe in herself, and somewhere along the way she learns to make content out of your pain instead. I didn't cry. I want to be clear about that because I know how this story sounds. I didn't cry. Something colder happened instead. Something settled. Chris came back that evening with a grocery bag from a market off Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. Chiles, tortillas, a rotisserie chicken, the ingredients for real pozole, not the sad broth and crackers situation from before. He caught me staring at nothing. "You good?" he asked, setting the bag on the counter, glancing at me from the kitchen doorway. "Fine," I said. The word tasted like ash coming out of my mouth. It was the same word Jessica had used on the phone with Brenda. He's fine. Chris didn't push. That's one thing about that kid. He doesn't push. He just stays. He started chopping onions at my kitchen island, and I sat on a bar stool watching him work, and for a while the sound of a knife on a cutting board was the only thing in the house that made sense. Around 8, his phone rang. He glanced at it, and something flickered across his face before he silenced it and shoved it back in his pocket. "Who was that?" I asked. "Nobody. Work stuff. I let it go that night. I shouldn't have, but I let it go." 2 days later, I overheard him on the back patio thinking I was asleep. His voice was low, tight, the kind of tight that comes from trying not to raise your voice at your own mother. "Yeah, I know, Ma. I know it was a big opportunity. Kitchen manager, benefits, the whole thing, I know." A pause. What was I supposed to do, huh? Uncle Seth literally can't get out of bed by himself. You want me to just, leave him here? Another pause, longer this time. "No. I already called them back. Told them I couldn't do the interview. It's done, Ma. Drop it." I lay very still in the dark, staring at the crack of porch light under my bedroom door, and I felt something twist in my chest that had nothing to do with my surgical scar. A 23-year-old kid who calls me dropout couch surfer behind his back. No, wait, that was never him. That was Jessica's name for him. He never once called himself that. He just gave up a real shot at a real job, for me. And he wasn't ever going to tell me. I didn't say anything to him about it. Not then. But I remembered. I remember everything, actually. That's sort of my problem, if you ask Jessica. I remember every Saturday I spent under a car for people who couldn't be bothered to remember my blood type. Day 5 brought the phone call. It was late, past 11, and I was half asleep when my phone lit up the room. Jessica. I almost didn't answer. Some petty wounded part of me wanted to let it ring out. But old habits die slow, and 20 years of marriage doesn't unwire itself in 5 days. Hey, I said, voice thick with sleep. Hey. Her voice was soft, softer than it had been in months, actually, with a slight slur that told me there'd been a few margaritas involved. I'm sorry. I know this has been hard for you. I needed a break, Seth. I felt like I was drowning. The house, Olivia's tuition stuff, the design business not taking off the way I wanted. I just needed to breathe for a minute. For one stupid, hopeful second, my chest actually loosened. Maybe she's coming home early. Maybe this is the moment where 20 years of marriage remembers itself. Jess, I said carefully, if you're drowning, come home. We'll figure it out together. That's what we do. I know, she said. I know, I need a few more days. I'm sorry, Seth. I really am. We hung up. I lay in the dark for a long time after that, turning her words over like stones, looking for the version of them that meant what I wanted them to mean. I found my answer at 7 the next morning. Instagram. A new post. Jessica, Brenda, and Susan in white robes at some resort spa. Cucumber water in hand, faces slathered in green clay masks, laughing at the camera. Self-care is non-negotiable. You can't pour from an empty cup. I went through that caption the same way I'd read Olivia's TikTok caption 2 days earlier. Over and over, waiting for it to mean something other than what it obviously meant. She wasn't apologizing to me. She was apologizing for herself. There's a difference. It took me 20 years and a ruptured appendix to learn it, but there's a difference. I set the phone down on the kitchen counter, hard enough that Chris looked up from the stove. You okay? He asked. Fine, I said again. That word. That useless, load-bearing word. The mail arrived at 11 that morning. Chris brought it in. A stack of the usual junk, a Fry's flyer, a package for Olivia she wasn't home to receive, and one bright yellow envelope stamped certified mail, signature required. Under normal circumstances, Jessica handles the mail. She's fast about it, almost weirdly fast, snatching it off the counter before I even get a look most days. I never thought much of that before. I do now. You want me to just set this on the counter? Chris asked, holding up the yellow envelope. Something in my gut told me not to wait. Open it, I said. I can't really grip things right now. My hands are still shaky from the meds. Just read it to me. He tore it open, unfolded the letter, and I watched his face change as he read it. The way his eyebrows pulled together, the way his jaw tightened. Uncle Seth, he said slowly, this is from the mortgage company. Read it. He cleared his throat. It says notice of default. Says the loan is 90 days past due. Says if payment isn't received within 30 days, they'll begin foreclosure proceedings. The kitchen went very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming. I could hear my own heartbeat, weirdly loud, weirdly slow. That's not possible, I said. I set up autopay years ago. That mortgage gets paid on the 1st of every month, automatically out of the joint account. I mean, Chris said gently, holding the letter out toward me even though we both knew I couldn't do much more than glance at it. It's saying otherwise. I sat there on the bar stool, staring at that yellow paper, and my mind went somewhere strange and specific, back to every Saturday I'd spent restaining that deck, replacing that fence panel, sealing that driveway. I built this house with my hands. I built it with my sweat, on my one day off, week after week, year after year, and somebody had quietly been letting it slip through their fingers behind my back. She wasn't ruining my summer. She was destroying my life. There's a difference. It took a certified letter to teach me that one, too. Chris, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I expected. Help me get to my laptop. It took him practically lifting me off the bar stool to get me to the office, and even sitting hurt, the incision pulling tight every time I leaned forward. But I needed to see this myself. I needed to stop being told things and start knowing them. I tried to log into our joint bank account. Password incorrect. I tried the mortgage services website. Password incorrect. Every single financial account I could think of. Same result. They've all been changed, I said, mostly to myself. Changed how? Chris asked, leaning over my shoulder. I don't know yet. My jaw was tight. I'm about to find out. I called customer service for the mortgage company. Sat through 25 minutes of hold music with a Southwest guitar riff looping over and over, and finally got a representative who, after verifying my identity with my social security number and a security question about my first car, reset my access. What I found when I logged back in made my stomach drop somewhere around my ankles. Paperless statements. Enabled. Primary contact email. Not mine. Not even close to mine. Some address I didn't recognize. A string of letters and numbers that meant nothing to me. I dug further. 2 personal loans, both co-signed, both bearing what was unmistakably my signature. Except I had never signed them. They were executed through a digital signature platform. I don't use digital signatures for anything, but there my name was, authorizing 2 loans totaling almost $40,000. I looked at the timestamps. They were finalized on the exact Tuesday afternoon I was wheeled out of the operating room at Scottsdale Osborne. The digital certificate IP address matched our home Wi-Fi. It was sloppy, desperate, and legally brain-dead. The platform's digital audit trail was a flashing neon sign pointing directly to her laptop. Chris, I said, my voice flat and distant. Pull up her design business's Instagram, the one for the LLC. He did. We scrolled through months of posts, a leased Escalade she called a client meeting vehicle, a closet's worth of designer clothes, and a booth at a Paradise Valley boutique home show that probably cost more than a year of college tuition. None of it made money. It just spent it. I looked closer at the bank ledger for her LLC. The $40,000 loan had hit her business account, and within 48 hours, she had transferred chunks of it directly to Brenda and Susan as reimbursements. She didn't just buy clothes, Chris. I said, the math finally locking into place. I paid $6,000 for the villa and flights, but the $5,000 a day chartered yacht, the private spa days, the VIP beach clubs? She used the forged mortgage loan to fund the lifestyle she couldn't afford on her own, and she literally paid her friends to go with her. She used stolen money to upgrade a vacation I already paid for. Chris didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, quietly, "You need a lawyer, Uncle Seth. Like tonight." I called my company's corporate counsel first, mostly out of habit. He handles contract disputes, not this. And he referred me to a family law attorney named Killian Marsh, who specialized in exactly this kind of thing, though I doubt even he sees this particular combination very often. Forgery, fraud, and foreclosure, all wrapped up in a beach vacation caption that said "finally exhaling." Killian's voice on the phone was calm in a way that made me trust him immediately, the calm of someone who has seen far worse than this and isn't rattled by any of it. "Here's the hard truth, Mr. Powell," he said. "If you report the forgery to the bank and to law enforcement, your wife is looking at federal charges. Bank fraud, identity theft, this isn't a slap on the wrist. If you don't report it, that $40,000 in debt is legally yours. Your name is on it, whether you signed it or not, unless we can prove otherwise. And if I do report it, then you have leverage most people in a divorce never get," he said. "Real leverage. The kind that ends negotiations before they start." I sat with that for a long moment, staring at the fraud documents glowing on my laptop screen, my incision throbbing dully under my shirt, the house silent around me except for the low sound of Chris washing dishes in the kitchen. 20 years. She'd forged my name on paper, but somewhere along the way she'd forged the whole marriage too. Made it look like something it wasn't. Signed my name to a life I never actually agreed to. My phone buzzed on the desk. I almost didn't look. I looked anyway. A new TikTok posted 4 minutes ago. Olivia, Jessica, Brenda, and Susan on a chartered yacht, champagne glasses raised, sunsetting gold behind them. Finally, away from the negative energy at home. I set the phone down, closed the laptop, and looked out the office window at my quiet, half-built mortgage-to-fraud house. Enjoy the champagne, ladies. It's the last thing on this trip that's actually going to taste sweet. If you have been listening for a while, drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button while you're at it and be sure you're subscribed. There's a particular kind of quiet that settles over a house right before it becomes a courtroom. I didn't know that until the night I turned off 2 credit cards from my kitchen table in North Scottsdale and listened, 3,000 miles away in spirit if not in miles, to my wife's entire vacation collapse in real time. Chris had gone to grab us dinner from a taco spot off Pima, carne asada, because by that point in the week we'd both silently agreed that broth season was over, and I sat alone at the kitchen island with my laptop open, Killian Marsh's number saved in my recent calls, and a decision already made. You don't get to steal a man's house and vacation on the proceeds. Not on my watch. Not anymore. I logged into the banking app. 2 cards. Jessica's platinum card tied to our joint account, the one she'd used to fund half of Cabo, and her personal card, the one I now knew was backed by one of the forged loans. I hovered my thumb over the toggle for a long moment. Last chance to be the reasonable one. Last chance to just let it slide, keep the peace, be the bigger man. I'd been the bigger man for 20 years. Look where it got me. I switched both cards off. The text came in around 8:30 that evening, while Chris and I were eating tacos out of foil wrappers at the counter, like 2 guys at a construction site instead of a kitchen island in a 5-bedroom house. Jessica, card declined at dinner. Must be a bank error. Can you check? I didn't respond. Chris glanced at my phone, then at me, and just kept eating. 10 minutes later, my phone actually rang. I let it buzz twice before I picked up, and when I did, I could hear restaurant noise behind her. Silverware, low chatter, somebody's laugh, a table over. Seth? Jessica's voice was pitched low, urgent, the voice she uses when she's trying to sound calm in front of people while she's anything but. Hey, so, weird thing. My card just got declined at dinner, both of them actually. Can you check what's going on with the account? I know what's going on with the account, I said. I turned the cards off. Silence. Real silence. The kind where you can hear someone recalibrating on the other end of the line. You? What? Seth, we're at dinner. There's like 6 of us. This is... Completely. Her voice dropped even lower, and I could picture her exactly stepping away from the table, ducking into the restaurant bathroom, hand cupped around the phone. Are you trying to humiliate me? My cards are declined at a restaurant in front of Brenda and Susan. Turn them back on. Right now. And there it was. Not concern for our marriage. Not even embarrassment about the debt. Just the mortifying possibility that Brenda and Susan might see the cracks in the foundation before she'd finished plastering over them. I kept my voice level, calmer than I'd felt in 11 days. I didn't turn them off to humiliate you, Jess. I turned them off because they're my cards. My name, my credit, my signature. Well, some of it's my signature. Since you didn't want the vacation money to go to waste, I'm sure Brenda and Susan can cover dinner. Don't rush home on my account. I hung up before she could answer. Chris looked at me over his taco, eyebrows raised, chewing very slowly. Damn, Uncle Seth. Yeah, I said. Damn. I didn't sleep much that night, but for once it wasn't the incision keeping me up. It was strategy. I sat up against the headboard with a legal pad Killian had told me to keep. Write everything down, dates, dollar amounts, screenshots, all of it. We build the case before we build the confrontation. And by 2 a.m, I had 4 pages of notes and a plan that felt less like revenge and more like a demolition schedule. Which I suppose is fitting. I've spent 20 years in construction. I know how to take a structure apart safely so it doesn't hurt the people standing near it. Except this time, the people standing near it were the ones who built the structure crooked in the first place. The next morning, Killian filed for an emergency financial injunction, freezing every joint asset, every account with both our names on it, before Jessica could touch another dollar. It went through by early afternoon. Every account, frozen. Every card, dead. Whatever cash she'd carried onto that yacht was, as of 2:15 Arizona time, the last liquid money she had access to. Then I did the part I'd been turning over in my head since the certified letter first landed on my counter. I opened a new email. Two addresses I'd pulled off the Paradise Valley Home Show sponsor list, cross-referenced against Brenda's husband's LinkedIn and Susan's husband's dental practice website. Subject line, regarding recent financial activity involving your household accounts, I attached 3 things. My hospital discharge paperwork from Scottsdale Osborne, dated the same week their wives were photographed at a Cabo spa with mine. A summary, not accusatory, just factual, numbers and dates, of the forged loans and where that money had gone, and a screenshot of the self-care is non-negotiable post, timestamped the same morning I'd been trying to reheat broth with one working hand. I didn't editorialize. I didn't need to. The math did the talking. You don't throw a punch when the truth can land it for you. That's something Killian told me, and it's the best legal advice I've ever gotten for free. I hit send at 3:47 p.m. and went to go help Chris load the food truck he'd been eyeing for over a year. Because that was the other thing I did that afternoon, and it felt better than every other part of the plan combined. The truck was parked in a dealer lot off Bell Road, silver with some rust around the wheel wells, a busted exterior menu board, but a kitchen inside that Chris had clearly memorized down to the inch. The flat top, the fryer. The walk-in space he kept calling tight but workable, with the kind of hope in his voice I hadn't heard from anyone in this story so far except myself, back in March, sliding my phone across the counter with Cabo pulled up on the screen. You don't have to do this, Chris said, standing next to me in the lot, hands shoved in his hoodie pocket, trying and failing to sound like he meant it. I know I don't have to, I said. I want to. You gave up a real job to spoon-feed your uncle broth and carry his mail. The least I can do is not let that be for nothing. We worked out the terms in the truck's front seat with Killian on speakerphone. My personal savings, never touched by the joint accounts, never touched by anything Jessica's name was on, funding the purchase outright. A real partnership, drawn up properly. I'd handle the books, the licensing, the business side I actually understand from 20 years of managing budgets on job sites. Chris would own the kitchen, own the food, own the thing he'd actually be good at. Shaw's Comfort Kitchen, Chris said, testing the name out loud for the first time, looking up at the blank menu board like he could already see it painted there. Sounds like something worth showing up for, I said. It was the first thing in 11 days that felt like it was actually being built instead of torn down. They landed at Sky Harbor the next evening. I know because Olivia's location was still shared with the family tracker Jessica had insisted we all keep, years ago. For safety, she'd said, back when safety was still something she cared about that didn't just mean her own comfort. I watched the little dot move from the airport onto the 101, north toward Pinnacle Peak Road, and I sat at the kitchen table and waited. Killian was already there beside me, a folder in front of him, quiet and unbothered, the way a man is when he's done this 100 times and knows exactly how it ends. Chris stood in the kitchen doorway, not hiding, not performing, just there, quietly wrapping his knives in a cloth roll, getting ready to head to the new truck for an early prep shift. Because life, unlike Jessica's Instagram captions, actually keeps moving whether you're ready or not. The garage door went up, then down. Footsteps. The front door swung open hard enough to bang against the entryway wall, and Jessica came in first, her face sunburned across the nose, her designer sunglasses pushed up into her hair, her eyes wide with a frantic, unhinged terror. Olivia lagged behind her, clutching her phone like a shield. Jessica didn't even look at the lawyer. She lunged toward the table. "What did you do?" she screamed, her voice cracking. "Seth, what the hell did you do?" Brenda's husband called her at the airport, screaming. "Susan's husband has frozen their joint accounts. They wouldn't even ride in the same Uber with me. They're threatening divorce, Seth. They think we're running some kind of financial scam." I sat up straight, pain-free, shaved and completely calm. "I didn't do anything, Jessica," I said quietly. "I just sent them the truth. I sent their husbands Your Design LLC's bank statements. I showed them the exact ledger lines where the $40,000 forged loans hit your account, and how you transferred thousands to Brenda and Susan to pay for their shares of the yacht and resort. Their husbands aren't mad at me. They're mad because their wives accepted stolen, forged money to live like queens while I lay on a concrete garage floor. I didn't have to call you a thief. The digital audit trail did it for me. I want you to picture it the way I saw it. Me sitting up straight at the table for the first time in almost 2 weeks, dressed, steady, not the broken man on the garage floor anymore. An attorney beside me with a folder. And in the background, my nephew, the one they'd called a couch surfer, calmly packing his knives like a man who had somewhere real to be in the morning. "Seth, what is wrong with you?" Jessica started, voice already climbing. "You humiliated me in front of Brenda and Susan. You froze my cards. Do you have any idea?" "Sit down, Jessica," I said. Quiet. Not a shout. I didn't need to shout anymore. Something in my tone stopped her mid-sentence. She sat. Killian slid 2 documents across the table, side by side, and I watched her eyes drop to them. Document A, I said, is a completed police report for felony forgery and identity theft. 2 loans, $40,000, my name signed by someone who wasn't me. That report gets filed the second I decide to file it. Jessica's face went pale under the sunburn. Seth, I can explain. Document B, I kept going, not raising my voice, not letting her interrupt, is an uncontested divorce settlement. You waive the house. You waive alimony. You take on 100% of the fraudulent debt in your own name because it was never mine to begin with. The kitchen was so quiet I could hear the ice maker cycling in the freezer. If you sign document B, I said, I absorb the credit hit, I pay off the bank myself, and you walk away broke, but free. If you fight me on this, if you make me do this the hard way, I sign document A instead. The sheriff's office is 8 minutes from here. You'll leave this house in handcuffs instead of with a suitcase. Her hands were shaking by the time she picked up the pen. I watched 20 years of manufactured composure. Every country club smile, every self-care is non-negotiable caption, collapse into something small and human. And for the first time since this whole thing started, honest. She signed. Olivia had been standing frozen near the doorway through all of it, but the second the pen left her mother's hand she found her voice. Are you serious right now? You're destroying our whole family over a stupid vacation. It was never about the vacation, I said, and I felt something in my chest go very still and very calm. Sit down, Liv. She didn't sit, but she didn't leave either. I pulled up her tuition portal on my laptop, turned the screen toward her. I'm still paying your tuition. Books too. Directly to the university every semester, because I respect your education and I'm not going to let you pay for my mistakes or your mother's. That doesn't change. Her shoulders dropped, just slightly, like she thought that was the whole conversation. But the apartment lease I've been covering, that's done at the end of this month. Sorority dues, done. The monthly allowance, done. You want a lifestyle beyond tuition and books, you're going to go get a job like every other 19-year-old in this country. Dad, you can't just... I can, I said, and I am. She started to say something else, something sharp. I could see it forming. But I wasn't finished, and for once in this house, nobody talked over me before I was done. When you were 7, I said, and my voice actually shook a little on that one, no matter how calm I'd stayed through everything else. You used to bring me soup when I had a cold. You'd sit on the edge of the bed and tell me about your day at school, every tiny detail, like it was the most important news in the world. I used to think, I'm raising a good person, a kind person. I looked at her, really looked maybe for the first time in years. I don't know who you are now, Liv. I don't recognize her. But I hope, someday, you remember who you used to be, because that girl was worth a lot more than the one who filmed her father asking for help and turned it into a joke. Olivia didn't scream, didn't storm out. She just stood there and broke, quietly, tears running down a sunburned face. And I think for the first time, she understood she wasn't just losing an allowance. She was losing me. The fallout moved fast after that. Brenda and Susan cut Jessica off completely, desperately trying to paint themselves as innocent victims to save their own marriages. The elite country club friendships Jessica had spent years in forged debt trying to keep dissolved in under a month. 6 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Jessica was renting a tiny one-bedroom apartment off Bell Road, working the sales floor at a department store in Kierland, folding sweaters for customers who had no idea she used to host spa days on stolen money. Olivia, with her tuition paid directly to the school but nothing else, had to pick up night shifts at a coffee shop near campus, finally learning what $1 actually costs. As for me, I sold the house. There were too many memories of a deck I stained for people who never once said thank you. I used my untouched personal savings to buy the silver food truck Chris had been dreaming about. Today, Shaw's Comfort Kitchen is painted clean across the side, parked most mornings near Old Town. Chris runs the flat top like he was born to do it, shouting orders and laughing with a line of regulars that stretches down the block. I sit at the window, running the register and managing the books, using my 20 years of project management to build something that's actually ours. I watch him work, and I think about the garage floor, the crackers on the nightstand, and the pen shaking in Jessica's hand. For 20 years I thought I was building a home. Turns out I was just building a prison. And the prison wasn't the house, it was the people inside it. Now I'm free, and I've never been lonelier, and I've never been happier. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. I will see you on the next one.